What's up, all you crazy entrepreneurs out there? Sean Tiberio coming to you guys with another episode of the Web Buzz podcast. Joined, as always, I'm going to stick with the man, the myth, the legend. The man, the myth. What did I say a couple episodes ago? The man, the myth, the Google legend. Mr. Roger Valdez. Roger, what's going on? How's the day going so far for you?
Oh, what's happening? It is going awesome. Once again, over here, tuning in from Guam, broadcasting all the way from the Pacific. It's going good. Looking out the window right now, the sun is shining, brother. The sun is shining. So feeling good. Excited for the big 9 here, episode 9. We're just talking about that. It's crazy.
Hard to believe. Hard to believe it's episode 9 already. I mean, that's over 2 months. We're doing these once a week. That's over 2 months. And I feel like it was just last week that you and I were like, all right, time to commit to it. We've been talking about it. Time to commit to it. Let's do it. But here we are, consistent 9 straight weeks, rolling through. So
absolutely. Just dropping some gold bars, right?
We keep gold bars. We still got that's something we got to commit to. We got to get I want a video clip of the gold bar just like slamming down and shattering apart or something. If anybody out there's listening, if you guys watch this later on a replay or whatever the case, if you can create that, touch base with Roger and or I, and we will hook you up for sure.
Absolutely. But yeah, just wanted to kind of, as we kind of, do the intro here for this particular episode, I think it's really important to really look back, right? Really look back at what kind of information we've been discussing. And, some of the questions that have been coming through. We've had a number of our current clients and a number of people that just kind of follow us, been asking some questions, and a lot of the information you and I have been sharing, trying to help everybody kind of, going into 2021, how to take advantage of all these steps, all these tasks that you can be doing for your marketing. And what we've realized is sometimes we need to take a step back, right? And understand where these tasks fall within that customer journey, right? So I think that's a great segue, Sean, for what today's topic, why, we went into all this and decided to do this particular topic that we're about to kind of introduce here. But I think it's important for everybody, every entrepreneur, to once in a while take a step back and see where your efforts are in that process.
Absolutely. I mean, we were actually talking right before going live here that I think sometimes we fail, right? Entrepreneurs, we fail not because we don't know it, not because we don't know that we're not doing something right, but simply just because we don't know what the process actually, like the big picture, what is it? And it becomes, I made the funny joke, it's like playing a baseball game with football rules, or trying to play football as a boxing match. You're just not going to get the right result from it. So we are going to take a step back a little bit today, folks. We're going to dive into a couple key elements that really just, at the end of the day, if you understand it and you understand the components of this, then everything, you can go back to the first 8 episodes, everything that Roger and I were dropping gold nuggets and gold bars around in that, suddenly the light bulb comes on and you start realizing, where do they fall in the process? Now, if I know where it falls, I know how to grade it. If I know how to grade it and measure it, I know whether I'm winning or losing, or where do I need to make a mistake. So anything you want to throw at them real fast before I go flying here?
And also knowing, Sean, definitely knowing when to implement some of these items, right? Because what I noticed and you noticed, and we kind of a big light bulb for us as well, is we had some of our followers and current clients implementing some of these things, but they hadn't done some of the foundational pieces, right? So sometimes getting ahead of yourself with some of these tasks, and then you wonder why they're not working, is because maybe the foundational pieces weren't in place yet. So with that, we'll kind of go into it. I'm sure we'll kind of stop in between it and kind of explain a little more detail. But pass it on to you and let's get this thing kicked off, buddy.
Yeah. I want to start first by talking just briefly, like why do we fail? Why does digital marketing fail? We hear it all the time. Oh yeah, I've tried that website thing. I've tried that social media stuff. I've tried to do the online thing. I just waste a bunch of money. I've got this really cool flashy thing and I never get any leads off of it. It fails. It sucks. And there's a couple reasons why. Number one out of the gate is there's just no focus. I relate marketing back to dating all the time. It's the analogy I love to use. And if you want to date somebody, you're going to put some focus on that person. From the second you notice them to the time you get them on that first date, second date, third date, you are going to put some focus on it. If Roger went, if he's not married, right, and he is, so ladies, you can't go chasing him. But if he was not married and he went out today and he bumped into somebody and they were kind of, batty eye and flirty a little bit, and then he didn't say a single word to that person ever again, the chances of that ever going anywhere is zero. And digital marketing is the same thing. If you are not clear with your focus, it's like you never paid attention to the other person and wondering why you can't get a date. It just won't happen. So no focus. The other thing is not really understanding the goal of each phase. So what we're going to dig into a little bit deeper here is what's known as the customer journey. And there are multiple stages along the journey that your prospect, your client, your soon-to-be customer goes through. And each phase has a goal. And if you don't know the goal, it's very easy to fail because you don't even know what you're trying to achieve. So you're trying to achieve something that doesn't even fit the goal of that phase. And then there's the stress. A couple other things real quick on that. You're trying to grade the success of a phase off of another one. That's that analogy I used about trying to play a baseball game with football rules or something like that. I'm trying to grade how well I get dates off of the fact that I live in a basement and I never go out and see the world. Well, if I never leave the house and I live in a basement and I'm over here grading myself, I can't get a date. I suck. I'm ugly. Nobody likes me. Well, I've never even stepped foot of the house. Nobody even knows I exist. How am I ever going to get that date, right? So we can't grade one off of the other. And that goes back to also understanding that goal. So anything you want to throw in there before we shift? Those are the common failures that I know we see a lot.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, just kind of sticking with the whole dating kind of analogy, right? I'm going back to how I met my wife and everything like that. Just not kind of to veer off, but you like hit it, and I didn't realize it till right now. It's
careful. She watches these replays.
She watches these.
So careful.
But it is true. If you stay, in the basement, like you said, and you don't go out and you're grading yourself, then in reality, you're not putting yourself out there. It's apples and oranges, right? Mm-hmm. But if you put yourself out there and you kind of put yourself around certain people that you are, that you have the same kind of type of interest and things, you might meet that person that has the same type of interest, which is what ended up happening with me. That I went to a party, one of my good friends, I didn't know anybody, and he introduced me to a couple people, and from there I met my wife. And from there, we found some commonalities, right? It's like some things that we had in common, and we just went from there. So it just kind of, it is very true, man.
So we're going to build on that.
Life.
We're going to build on that because the very first stage of your digital marketing attempt or your digital marketing approach, right, everything that Roger and I went over episodes 1 through 8, really hone in and focus in on these first two phases. The first one being the awareness phase. So Roger, you went to that party, you knew nobody, meaning those people, you were not aware that they even existed in the world.
Exactly.
Same thing. They had no idea who you were. Therefore, you did not exist to them. By you showing up to the party and getting introduced to them, they are now aware. You are now aware of their existence. You building a website, building it the right way, getting it coded, getting it put in the right spot, and Google indexing it, Google's now aware. But that's just Google. Now we got to get your clients aware. So all the stuff that Roger's been talking about over the last couple of episodes that boosts the rankings and gets you up to, again, if you're not even in the first page, the chances of you being ever found is like this. But even that, even just being on the first page, you're not really being aware, nobody's aware of you just yet. It's not until you crack that number 1, number 2, number 3 slot to where you really can say, hey, I'm now aware. My business is in a position for people to be aware that I exist. Phase 2, or kind of stage 2 of that journey, leads into the engagement. So you got introduced at the party and you started to have some conversation, right? Small talk. You didn't know them. They didn't know you. You guys are getting to know each other. You're spitting some things back and forth, whatever the case, talking about your past. They're talking about their past, talking about what your hobbies are, these type of things, right? A little bit of engagement going on here. In the digital marketing space, that's somebody being on your website, reading some pages, digging into some blogs. We were on a call earlier with one of our clients, and I was showing the entire journey of a organic lead that came through us. How many pages was he on? How long was he on our sites? Which buttons did he click on? That's engagement. Which forms did he start to review? What videos did he watch? Case studies, all this type of stuff. That's him engaging with us engaging with him. It's all out there for him in a digital format for him to be able to engage. That small talk piece. Then we can finally move to stage 3. At some point, did you actually meet her at the party, or did you meet her through the people at the party?
I did. This is so weird, man. Everything is flowing into this customer journey. It's weird.
This is why I use
because
dating. It makes
I
sense.
walked in and John, you know, I moved to, and I know I'm in Guam now and I'm married and that's why we're here, right? But the whole point is, like, I had just moved to San Diego. I didn't know anybody. I had met this person, this good guy that I became friends with. He invited me to a party so I can get to know people in the area, San Diego. So I walked in. He introduces me in general. Hey guys, this is Roger. He's born in California, but he's from Yuma, Arizona. What do I hear in the corner over there? My wife now says, there's a Cracker Barrel in Yuma. So she engaged with me, right? That's kind of like a blog, or me putting information out there to the world about me, right? And that person kind of found something that was related, right? And boom, we made a connection. Did I go right over there and talk to her? No, but she kept in my mind, and eventually I made my rounds and started a conversation, which is, I'm following your customer journey on the dot.
So at that party, you're having that, you eventually get to her and you make the engagement, right? You're having the small talk, you're going back and forth, aka you're reading her blog, she's reading your blogs, all this kind of stuff. Did you guys exchange numbers that night?
Yes, we did.
So you moved to the subscribe stage.
Yeah, very quickly. We had a lot in common, obviously, through there. So it was really cool. It's like, and then we had one authority figure, our common friend, right? So there was a lot of already kind of like trust.
Yep.
So we kind of, at that party, there was a lot of things I was like, oh, you know, this guy, you must be a good guy, right? It's like, it's not like he hangs out with a lot of garbage people or whatever. But yeah, it's like, we just kind of took it, slowly as friends and everything. But there was a lot that happened at that party that, led to us where we are at now. So
in that process, you moved into what's known as the subscribe stage. In digital marketing, they fill out a form to download a piece of material. They fill out a form. In our case, we've got the masterclass, we've got the silo worksheet, we've got the customer avatar worksheet. If somebody goes and fills that out to watch the masterclass, download one of those documents, they're now subscribing to us. If they fill out one of the forms to request a website consultation, they're now subscribing, right? Because they're committing a little bit now. They're giving some information, personal information, name, phone number, email, maybe a little bit of their business information, a website address. They're now giving up some information. They're not just sitting in the corner knowing that, hey, this guy's from a town that's got a Cracker Barrel. I actually want to talk a little bit more. It's kind of like the first date, right? Hey, I'm kind of agreeing to the first date. And then it continues through there. And that's when we get into the actual going on dates, multiple dates, and they eventually become a customer, aka you start going steady, then you upsell them. Do we want to just go steady? Do we want to get married? You upsell them again. Do we want kids? The whole process from there. But it has to start in this first bottom 3. So those are the first 3: awareness, engagement, into the subscribe stage. And there are goals at each one of these stages. And this right here, folks, is where when you can turn this light bulb on, all 3 of those, and then the goal of each one, it is just off to the races to achieve the goal. So the goal of the awareness and engage stage are pretty much the same. A little bit different in the engagement, but at the end of the day, there's really one, I call this turning a glance into a stare. So the goal of the awareness stage is get a glance. Get them to even, she heard you say, or heard somebody say Yuma, Arizona. She glanced and was like, Cracker Barrel. And that's as far as it went until you made your rounds to her, right? It was a quick glance. Boom. She's now aware. Roger exists. Roger's in the room. He's now aware. She's there. She's in the room. I'll make my way over at some point. That's really the goal of the awareness stage. Now, the engagement stage is where we turn that from a glance to the stare. And it's to get them to spend a little bit more time. Get them to, and another way to put it is the goal of the engagement phase is what's known as your applause rate. In digital marketing, we're not on a stage. We're not in front of somebody. Most of the time, it's whatever we've done, the optimization, all the tasks, all the SEO things that Roger really pushes hard on. If we're doing those right, then people are going to spend the time viewing those and engaging with it. Well, the more that they read a blog, the more that they comment on a social post, the more that they comment on your Google My Business stuff, the more that they, do certain tasks or spend time on there, it's like the virtual applause rate. It's like the audience standing there saying, hey, kudos, good job, great, I love that. Those of you right now, there's a handful of you guys on watching this live. It's telling me up in the thing. And if you are live, throw a comment in. We'd love to hear from you. You guys, the longer you're on, the more of those hearts and likes and everything that people are clicking on, that's increasing the applause rate, aka the engagement that you're having with Roger and I right here in the moment. That's simply the goal of the engagement phase. Get more applause. The louder your roar, the bigger your standing ovation, the better you're doing in your engagement side. Then you can look at the subscribe stage and go, what's the goal here? And it's simply one goal: drive a qualified lead. The goal of the subscribe stage is drive a qualified lead. A qualified lead is the person that fits your customer avatar. Go back and revisit, I forget what episodes that was, 2 or 3, where we broke down the customer avatar element. For Roger, the goal of the subscribe stage was to get the phone number of his now wife because she met the qualifications, aka the same hobbies, they got along, they had mutual friends, it seemed like a good fit. That was a qualified lead. It was worth getting to the subscribe stage there. If through the engagement process you start to find out, we don't like each other, we're not jiving here, we don't have the same interest, I'm in left field, she's in right field, it's not a good fit. I don't need them to go to the subscribe stage with me. So the whole job of the subscribe stage is to take all that awareness and engagement that you stirred up, everybody that was at that party, and find the one qualified person that makes sense to move them through. Anything? I see you smiling like crazy. So I know there's something turning up.
It's a little weird, my personal life podcast, but it fits so well. It's like this was not planned, by the way. This is as I was thinking about it, and I'm like, oh my God, I went through this whole process. Yeah, I do it with businesses all the time. You and I do with our clients, but I just put myself here on the air, and it all fit the process. So it's awesome.
It wouldn't matter who was sitting in that seat. Anybody that's been married or is married or in a serious relationship can look. This is why I love using dating, because so many people can relate back to it. And I don't know, when I got it, and I didn't create this analogy, somebody said it one day and I was like, oh, that makes total sense. Which is why I love using it. So that's the goal of each of those phases. And again, why I want to kind of, and I see Marie just commented in there, cracking up about the Cracker Barrel piece. But the reason I want to emphasize understanding of the goal is simply because we see this so often. Somebody goes, hey, you guys did this website for me. I've had this website out there for 6 months and I'm not getting any leads. Hey, I've had this website and nobody's calling me. And we're always sitting here kind of laughing for a second. And it's like, yeah, so you got the stage one, you got the awareness piece, but are they even aware that you exist? And there are things that we can do at each one of these phases. And I'm going to kind of get into that here in a quick second, but you can't judge the subscribe stage. You can't judge how many qualified leads are you getting off of this element over here. So how do we stir up more awareness? How do we deliver? Kind of how do we achieve that goal of increasing the applause rate, becoming known, all the things? If you guys want the technical tasks elements to it, go listen to the past episodes that we've done up to this point. Roger lays it out, all the little technician type pieces to it that are going to set you up to be able to achieve it. Now, to actually take that from I'm set up, right? I've trained, I'm ready to get in the game. I've had my batting practice. I'm good to go. I'm ready to step in the batter's box in the actual game now and play. Couple quick ones, 3 easy ones. I can go for all day on this one, but we're going to keep it simple with 3. The first one is you can do things that are known as lists. So you can create lists, and I'll talk about how do you deliver these type of things here in a second. But one way of doing it is list. The idea is I'm going to create a list, whether it be a book, list of books or list of tools. We did a few ago, whatever it was, maybe 3-4 episodes back, where Roger laid out a couple different tools on it. Basically, that was a list, right? And what that does is that shows the authority. If Roger knows these tools, knows them very well, can explain a little bit about them, can show you, hey, here's a tool, here's a tool, here's a tool, here's a tool to achieve this, instantly you're looking at Roger like, all right, guy knows his stuff. He knows what he's talking about. He's not just saying it, but he's actually giving me some resources, some tools. Maybe it's a book, maybe it's a tool, maybe it's an online site, maybe it's a stat, a figure, a chart, whatever the case. You can make this, infographics, these type of things. Another one is known as the how-to. This one's becoming more and more popular. The how-to or the versus piece. So how-to is just like it sounds. How to do X. You can break down your entire process. I'm going to pick on one of our current clients because I was chatting with him a little bit earlier today. He does credit restoration and credit repair. Well, he has that service. And he can just run around and say that, or he can actually show like, how do you actually read your credit report the right way and get the right answers out of it? That's a how-to. He could, hey, how do you actually generate the right letter if you need to challenge something? What needs to go into that letter? Well, that's a how-to. Now, the versus one that's becoming a little bit more popular is, let's say there's you versus somebody else. We're HubSpot partners. I was actually talking to one of our HubSpot team members earlier this week, comparing HubSpot to another service platform, another service cloud for like service tickets for, in our case, support at Top Results Consulting. Well, immediately she didn't have it. They hadn't created it, but she said, hey, give me a day and I'm going to go and I'm going to create a article, basically a blog in a sense, that's HubSpot versus Freshdesk, so that you can compare side by side the value of both, the features of both, and which one was, is better than the other one in different elements of it. Super educational. And it was a way for me to engage a little bit more with them on what their service was versus somebody else's. So how-tos and versus. And then the final one is answer questions. And I know we threw this out as a resource. It was one of those list episodes that we did. A great resource was answerthepublic.com. Great place to go find the questions that your ideal client is out there asking. And all you got to do now is create the answers. Not even create them, just answer the actual question from you, from your business, and that piece. So I'll kick it over to you here for a second, Roger, because I know you got some stuff to add in here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important. Those all 3 of them are extremely important, but I think the last 2 are ones we should definitely elaborate on how important they are, because sometimes it's easy to say the question is so easy that I can just answer it. Why should I write a blog post or something? Why should I even put it on my website, right? But at the end of the day, you just never know. You got to assume, you got to be able to be almost like a dictionary or thesaurus, for your industry. You want to be able to have every question covered via a blog on your website. So that way you're prepared, not only for just general people looking for this information online, that they can find you. That's an opportunity, right? That's an opportunity for you to position yourself as an authority, as the expert in your industry. But not only that, I ran into this as I go through a process of my wife and I go through a process of potentially buying a house in Maryland. I had a question for the loan officer, right? It's like how long, something as easy as if we get pre-approved, how long does that pre-approval last? You would think a loan officer can answer that like that, right? That should be super simple. And they did. It was really good. But this was via email. He could have just sent me a link to his blog post and I could have read that. And that would have basically probably had me start looking even deeper into other questions I have, right? Get me engaged with this content. Well, I did a couple things for him by doing that. I gave him traffic to his website, which is great for SEO, right? It's direct traffic. It's great for his SEO. Plus, it started building my trust in him. So that's something that if you nail down these how-tos, these verses, right? All these questions, you answer the questions, even the easy ones. Those are the best ones because people are overlooking those and not creating content around them. So there's opportunities for you to put them out there. So that's one thing I kind of want to, just because I went through that experience just recently. And once again, we do this every day, but it's not when you put yourself on there. It's like, man, if that person could have had that article, I can see like 10 things that they could have benefited from for their digital marketing.
Absolutely. And let's take it back to dating here for a second. At the end of the day, it's just building rapport. It's building the know, like, and trust factor. Roger at that party, we're going to go back and bring his personal life back into this just because it's fun. But Roger at that party, talking to his not then, but now wife, at some point, he probably was making a list of things that he's done, a list of his past, whatever the case. Through their conversation, they probably got into a discussion of this versus this. What do you think about this over this? Where's your stance on this versus this, right? That's the versus piece of things. Starts talking about his career. Really, how do you do that? Her career, how do you do that? Well, I'm starting to explain. That's the how-to side of it piece. So again, it's still relevant. The question, let's play the 20 question game. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions to get to know you, and you're going to answer the questions. It's the same in dating as it is over here. And again, this is the awareness and engagement phase. The more of this that we do, the more, to your point exactly, Roger, if he had that as a blog, now you're reading that blog, chances are you're probably going to go check out a different one.
I have more questions. I still have questions. I wish he would have done that because I would have kept digging. I would have probably, kept digging and reading. So.
Yep. And it not just blogs. It may have led you to YouTube videos if he was doing those. It could have led you to downloadable resources, right? Which moves you into that next phase if you're not already there, which, again, is kind of where we're going, and it'll set all that stuff up. But that's the perfect scenario. That client that we were just talking to, and I was using a true organic lead from us, we were able to look and see that over like a 20-minute window from the time this person got to our site and a contact was created for them, so the time that they actually booked a call, aka the subscribe stage, this 20-minute window, that person did an awful lot. Viewed 14 different pages. They were paying attention to like 3 of our 4 different case studies on our site. They opted in to download a couple forms. They opted in for our masterclass. And then they finally got to the point where they said, okay, let's go on a date. Let's get on a call and talk, because I now believe that you guys can help me on it. Which leads us into the final piece, delivery. Hopefully, if you guys are out there and you're listening to this live, throw it in the comments. Let me know if the light bulb turned on, even if you just write ding, ding or something like that. But hopefully the light bulb's turning on here, because the final piece of this now is just how do I deliver at each phase? Because each phase needs to deliver a little bit differently, but I'm going to really focus in on the awareness and engage. We'll have to do a whole other episode on subscribe just because there's so much that goes into that element. So the awareness and engage, how do we deliver on it? First way, the first one that I know in particular order, just first one on my list, blogs. Blogs are a phenomenal way to deliver these answering of questions, the how-tos, the verses, the creating of a list, these type of elements, not to mention the SEO boost that they help with. But just put yourself in the user's shoe. You heard Roger say it right now. If this gentleman that he was dealing with would have had blogs on his site, he would have dug into them. And your business is no different. Your prospect is out there looking for this stuff. And if you've got it, they'll spend the time on it. If you don't, they're going to go find it. Go ahead.
Let me add something there, Sean, because
Mhm.
it's very important. Because in some cases as well, you might have this content on your website. You might have a very well established, like a lot of our higher end clients, we do a lot of this for them. So as the entrepreneur, as the owner of the business, you have to also be aware of your opportunities, right? So let's just say this particular loan officer does have this content on his website. He does have blogs. He has everything there. And I emailed it, and he just responded to my email and said, X, right? This is the answer. Instead of sending me that, he missed an opportunity because it's there, right? So one of the things that I wanted to kind of add there is like, be aware of what your online presence looks like. That way, if you do have it, take advantage of it, because that's a strategy. I mean, we could have all this stuff and it's just in the basement, right? Going back to in the basement, you're not putting it out there for everybody. So if you do have it, make sure you know what you have so you know when to put it out.
Absolutely. I was actually on a call this morning and talking to somebody, and they asked a question, and I could have just done a quick answer or whatever, but I said, hey, actually, we have a recording. We did this call for our clients. I have the recording. I'll send it to you. It's like 25, 30 minutes long. Go ahead and watch it before we jump on another call to help you out. And immediately the response was, that'd be so great. It'd be amazing that you guys have that to it. So perfect point on there, which actually leads to a couple of the other ways that you can do this. The next one that I have on the list is just what we're doing right now, podcast. Now, does it need to be high-end production, streamed all over the place, video, all this stuff like we're doing right now? No. If you don't have the skill set, if you don't have the technology to do that, that's fine. If you just have your cell phone and you want to record some audio and talk about topics, answer questions, do your verses, do a kind of walk somebody through a process and put that out there. That's a great start to it. So don't get wrapped up in, yeah, podcasting sounds cool. I have no idea how to do all that stuff. Hit the record button on your recorder on your cell phone, grab yourself some audio, and now you've got something. And that's better than nothing at all. Okay. Now, if you've got some skill set, if you got some technology, if you want to kind of make it a little more advanced, then absolutely you can use. I mean, we're using a program called StreamYard. Roger and I are in StreamYard in a studio in there, and it's broadcasted out, and then we download it and we use it. And there's a lot of advanced reasons why we do it this way, why the SEO push, all that kind of stuff. But that's just because we do it that way because I've got the experience. I know what we're doing. Roger knows what he's doing on that other element. So it's easy for us to do a podcast of this format. But if we didn't, we could make it happen just with Zoom, do a Zoom call with yourself. If you're just by yourself, it's okay to use Zoom by yourself and record yourself talking about something. Another one is video. Now, it could be very informal video. Just shoot it with your cell phone, selfie mode. Grab my phone's over on the desk over there, but grab your phone, just go selfie mode and do it that way. It could be more kind of produced video. Get somebody to edit it, put it up to YouTube. Even the selfie one could go to YouTube. Heck, we even do some like cartoon videos for our clients. Again, not because it's about the video, it's about the content and the SEO piece behind it. All about the awareness. It's all about the awareness and some engagement here on it. Or live video. And this is something we're going to get into some of this topic next week around the social aspect and some of the big social change and why you need this social media focus inside of your kind of SEO element that really boosts this awareness and engagement end of things. But even just doing a live video is another way of delivering it. And then that final piece being using social media. It's the easy, free way of getting it out there. As just doing social updates, social posts, your story, whatever you feel comfortable doing. And there's a lot of other ways that we can deliver on this, but these are kind of the quick, standard, easy ones that you guys can go and start executing on right now. Don't worry about it being perfect. Just worry about it being done so that you can, again, the goal, become aware. Get people to be aware that you exist. Once they're aware, now we can start moving down the track and we can start to expand how we do it. I got the wheels spinning on your head again. What do you got?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm just kind of watching because this goes back. I mean, I know I get kind of sucked into talking about a lot of the SEO kind of factors and benefits to a lot of this stuff. But just in general, I know last week's episode, if you haven't watched it, definitely watch that. We talked about one of the major trends that's happening called the EAT, right? That acronym with expertise, authority, and trust. Yes, it has to do with the SEO. We talked a lot about why it's important for that. But as you look at the customer journey with the aware, engage, and subscribe, forget about the SEO for a minute, right? Just forget about all that. Just in general, just when you're talking to people in general, if you build those factors, right? Those basically your expertise, authority, and trust, it's easier for them to subscribe if they are the right avatar. Not only that, it's easier to have the conversation of those questions. We go back to the first how do we achieve this, right? It's like using lists, how to's to answer the questions. Now you know exactly what kind of questions to ask them, and that person knows what kind of questions to ask you, and you can go back and forth to decide if you guys are a good fit for each other, right? And this is just customer dating, whatever it might be, it fits in there. So absolutely, I mean, all these things will lead you back to increasing that expertise, authority, and trust as well. So that's awesome.
And I mean, that's a great point, because that episode that we did last week around the EAT portion of the Google algorithm, that is the purpose of awareness and engagement, is to build expertise and authority, which then builds the trust. If you're doing enough awareness and engagement, the trust comes, which favors that side. So it is all a hand-in-hand piece to it. So anything you want to add or end with before we wrap it up? I don't want to get too deep. We will be doing a deeper episodes, breaking each of these pieces down in the future. So if you are not subscribed or following of this show, do us a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button, depending on what platform, audio, video, whatever the heck you're watching or listening on. Hit it so that you know when more episodes are out and live, or just head over to topresultsconsulting.com, opt into our newsletter, opt-in area to get updated when blogs and video podcasts like this go out. We send those out every single week. In case you miss the live version, you can always catch the replay. So, little plug for us.
Awesome. No, I think we are good. I think today's information was solid. I think it was enough for this particular episode, and looking forward for the questions, right, before we add another phase to this. So we'll leave it at that. We really appreciate you guys kind of listening to this and taking in this information. Very, very important as we kind of go through these this quarter one. We want everybody to crush it. So definitely take a look at this, implement, learn, take steps back if needed, and then let's move forward together.
Absolutely. And if you guys have any episode ideas, topics, anything that you want Roger and I to be sure to work into our show rotation and get on there, as you see floating across the bottom of the screen down there, don't hesitate. Comment on one of our episodes. We'll see it there, or just send us a message on Instagram or Facebook at Top Results Consulting, or you can just reach out to Roger and or I personally on social media to send that in. And then I want to remind you guys, we've got our free masterclass out there, topresultsconsulting.com/masterclass, the fastest way to learn how to make your website your number one sales and marketing tool. A lot of the stuff that Roger and I go deeper into here in the podcast, we handle and cover in a quick 50-minute kind of crash course on the key things that you got to do right out of the gate to get this thing rolling. So go ahead, check that out, topresultsconsulting.com/masterclass. With that said, it's been fun. More gold bars getting slung around today. So thanks for joining, Roger. I know it's just getting your day rolling over there. I'm going to wrap down my day. Not completely, though. Got to get ready to jump on another training call for some of my lions that are out there, and then I'll end the day.
Awesome, man. Nope, same here. I'm ready to get going, man. I'm ready to start my day and keep going. There's a lot to do, so we're ready.
Absolutely. Well, everybody, thanks for tuning in. If you tuned in live, if you've been watching this later on the replay, thanks for the support. Be sure hit the like button, the subscribe button, all those kind of things. Leave us a review. Help us out on the different platforms. We'll see you again next Wednesday on another episode of the Web Buzz Podcast. And as always, here's to your success.